Hello everybody, hope everybody's having a beautiful day, guys. We are gonna get started with our embroidery in just a second. Murder on the hoop time, guys. But before we get started, I want to go over a few things. So those of you coming in here, please just tap on that screen. Let's go ahead and do murder on the hoop in just a second, guys, but make sure you guys are tapping on the screen. I'm going to let you guys know about this embroidery stand that I just got in the mail today. I am so super excited to start using this, but I'm going to show you what it came with. It didn't come with this particular thing that I've been working on already, but it came, and before I start linking products and all that, I do want to let you know this. You can find what I just ordered and received in the mail today, the embroidery hoop stand. That is found in my bio under my link tree, guys. So just to let you guys know, so this embroidery stand, I accidentally ordered one that came with patterns. I only meant to order the embroidery stand itself, but it came with one of these plastic hoops. And again, this is found in my bio, guys, so go check that out. I did make a video about this. So it came with that, but let me show you what else it came with. This is so darn stinking cute. Hello, I Don't Dance. Hello, Deborah. Hello, Grammy Turkey. So it also came with patterns. So I'm trying to put this here so that way it came with some really beautiful patterns on here. It came with this right here, and of course it comes with the drawn out pattern, comes with the thread that you need for it. Again, this is found in my bio, guys. Go check it out in my link tree. So it came with 3 different designs. I'm like, look at this, guys. This is so stinking cute. Came with that. Very beginner friendly, honestly. And I'll show you how the instructions look like in just a second, guys. Check it out. So it came with this pattern also. Again, it comes with the thread. Each piece comes with its own embroidery thread. It has everything that you need. Looks like it's really, really high quality. And then it also came with a scissor, one of those things where you can rip out the snags, and a needle threader as well, guys. Now, this is the third one on here. And this is how the instructions look like, guys. Look at this. Very detailed instructions. It tells you how many strands to use. It tells you where to use what color. It also gives you details on how to do the particular stitches needed for this pattern. And then look at how it looks like, guys. This is one of them. So basically you put this in your hoop and you basically just start. It gives you really good instructions. Again, it also came with needles as well. Came with needles. And of course, the embroidery thread is nicely laid out where it doesn't get tangled. It's just really, really pretty. And it's so soft, this thread. It's like, it's really, really super soft. And then, of course, for the embroidery hoop stand itself, it gives you instructions on how to do all of this. So it had all the instructions on here. Really easy to understand, and it's actually really good quality. I really love the quality of it. So definitely this here, all of this is found in my link tree, guys. I didn't mean to order one with patterns, but I am happy that it came with the patterns. 3 different patterns, guys. 3 different patterns, and absolutely well worth it. So y'all check it out. Again, it's in my link tree. Came in really, really fast, and I love it. So now we are going to go ahead. We're going to do murder on the hoop. I'm going to close this out. I don't want to include my address. Thank you, Lady D's Crafty World, for following. Oh, also, there are some books I'm going to go over before I start out the actual live. Let me link the embroidery books that might just help you out if you're thinking of starting your own embroidery journey, let me find the first book. Not that one. I'll show you the inside of the books in just a second. So a lot of you guys who are really super interested in starting embroidery, number one, go ahead and follow me because I have embroidery tutorials all the stinking time. But also if you want to kind of go off on your own, this book here is really helpful, and I do have it to show you guys. Bubbles, thank you for following. Brenda, thank you for following. All of you guys, Azine number 1, thank you so much for the likes. So this is another embroidery book. Hi Brenda, how are you? That is really, really helpful. I'm trying to see if I can show it to you guys in a, let me put this down and let me move my camera a little bit so I can open that book and show you kind of how it looks inside. Of course, it's got a table of contents, how to use the book. It tells you all the tools that you need or may want to have, different types of products. Like, see, it really gives you a lot of information as to what is helpful for embroidery. So many different ideas in this book. Creating backgrounds, patchwork. It's not just, so it talks about embroidery stitches, like different kinds, tells you what page to find them on. Let me show you guys. Embroidery stitches for leaves. It tells you what page to find it on. So this is kind of like the glossary part. Let me get to the actual stitches themselves. It's just so many different ones. Let me get to the actual, where it actually starts. So samplers, this is like so many different ideas. It tells you how to do the couching stitches, colonial knots, chain stitch. It has really good detailed pictures on all of them. So that's another book that I highly, highly recommend. It's just really beautiful. And then there's another one that I have that's really great. It's in my TikTok shop also. Let me see if I can find that one real quick. Just bear with me. And then we're going to get into the Murder on the Hoop in just a second, guys. But in the meantime, make sure you are tapping, following, sharing, because we're going to get into today's case in just a moment. But let me show you this other book real quick. It's the How to Embroider Almost Everything. This is so cute, guys. Look at this. A source, 500 plus modern motifs and easy to stitch tutorials. Learn to draw with thread. So just to kind of give you a few ideas, it also goes through backstitch with variations, basic stitches, ideas. Like, it even gives you like little ideas as to, you know, what to stitch. I love this. These are so cute. So stinking cute. I love this book a lot because it really does give you a lot of ideas. If you're trying to embroider something for somebody special, it even has lettering, numbers, like so many different things. Let me see if I can get you. Yeah, there's just so many different ideas. So again, this is also in my TikTok shop. I think you guys will love it. It's really cute. But anyway, guys, thank you, Mrs. T, for following Mrs. T. Okay, so let's get, I'm trying to figure out how to stand because my desk is a little taller. Now this, you can actually put between your legs. So I'm trying to see how to sit because I haven't had an embroidery stand in a little while now, guys. So just bear with me for just a second. I'm trying to think on how to do this. Let me see. Do I want to put it under? Okay. So hold on a minute. I'm trying to, trying to see how I want to do it. Hang on a second. Okay, no. So, all right. So this one you can basically, let me show you guys. So with this, you can turn it. You can, if you unscrew this, you can make it higher. This is as low as it goes. So now let me figure out how to do this without, and then also still do the murder on the hoop. The case that we're going to actually be going over today is the Baneheia Murders. And this is a Norwegian situation. So this happened in Norway. All right, guys. So let me zoom out a little bit here. Hold on a second. See if I can make this go a little higher. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get situated here. All right. I'm getting used to this because, like I said, I'm not used to this embroidery hoop. So we're going to put that cloth in the back there. All right. So, and my eyesight is absolutely horrendous. Let me see if I can do it this way. Okay. So the Baneheia Murders, okay, guys, was a double grape and murder, and it had miscarriage of justice in here as well. I'm going to secure the thread here real quick. Barb, thank you so much for following. And so basically it occurred in Norway on May 19th in the year 2000. And let me just scroll down a little bit and actually see if I can make this writing bigger so I can actually read it a little bit better. All right, here we go. I think I can get this better now. Let me put my glasses on. Maybe I don't need my glasses. Who knows? Okay, sorry, guys. I am trying to figure out how to do this and still tell you guys about the case. I'm getting there. I'm getting there, guys. I'm getting there. All right. So it occurred on May 19th, May 19th of the year 2000. The victims were two girls, a 10-year-old Lena. Now, I might be saying these names wrong because they're Norwegian names. But Lena Slogedal Paulsen, and she was 10 years old, and 8-year-old Stein Sophie Ostegard Sorstronen. I'm saying these names a little bit wrong because they're Norwegian names, guys, so bear with me with that. They were found graped and unalived in the Baneheia area in Kristiansand. So the area is called Kristiansand. And the unaliving, so the murders, received massive media attention in Norway in the early 2000s. In fact, this really rocked Norway. It's one of the biggest cases in Norway. Actually, my friend Chef is the one who brought this to my attention. Let me see if I can invite him here. Maybe, there he is. I'm going to send this out, and I'm going to just share this out with a few more people so that more people come in here and watch this case, because it's a really super interesting case. So let me see. There's also one more person I wanted to invite. There we go. Okay. Sorry, guys. So basically, two men were convicted in 2001 for this case. Now, of course, Norwegian justice is a little bit different than American justice. But they were convicted for the unalivings of Jane Helge Anderson, born 1981, and Viggo Christensen, born 1979. So these are the people who got convicted, Jan and Viggo. And Anderson was convicted of the murder and rape of Sorstronen, but acquitted of the murder of Paulsen. Now remember, these were two young girls. The conviction of Anderson was based on DNA match from the scene and a confession to the killing of Sorstronen. Christensen was convicted of the rape and murder of both girls and sentenced to 21 years of containment in 2001 and 2002. So, like I said, the Norwegian justice is a little bit different than American justice. I don't know if they have life sentences or the DP penalty. I don't know that. I have to actually look into that. On October, so basically, while Anderson confessed to unaliving one of the girls, Christensen always claimed he was innocent. And there is actually a documentary that you can find. It's on YT as well, but it is in Norwegian with subtitles. So you can check that out as well. But in the decades following the initial trials, Christensen applied for retrial many, many times. His seventh application in 2021 was successful. I don't know if I agree with that. And then in February 2021, Christensen's case was reopened and he was released from prison. On October 21st, 2022, Attorney General Jorn Marud announced that the prosecution would submit a request for the acquittal of Viggo Christensen in the reopening case based on the new investigation carried out by the Oslo Police District. On December 15th, 2002, Christensen was acquitted in the Borgarting Court of Appeal. The verdict against Christensen was widely considered as one of the biggest miscarriages of justice in Norway's recent history. So there's people who staunchly believe that he was innocent. He basically got convicted with very little evidence from the documentary that I was able to look into. So the events of May 19th, so now kind of going into the detail of the actual case. Basically, on May 19, 2000, the day of the murders, Stein Sophie Sorstronen and Lena Slogedal Paulsen were visiting with their fathers, who both lived in the same block of flats close to the Baneheia forest. So it was a very beautiful area where, people could go and, have good relaxing times. It was a place where it was known to be safe, right? And let me go back to, where was I? Baneheia Forest. So Sorostren was visiting from Grimstad, and Slogedal Paulsen from a different neighborhood in Kristiansand. In the evening, they were going swimming together at a small lake called Stampe 3. And in the popular recreation area of Baneheia, which was not very far. They left home at approximately 1815 hours and 1820 hours. Two college students who also happened to be swimming at the same area as the girls testified that the girls were still swimming. They were still swimming in the water when they left the area at approximately 1850 hours. Now, of course, in these areas, they go by military time. I'm not very good about converting those times. Hello, Sarcastic. Welcome. Hello, Sarah. Welcome. And so the search. When the two girls had not returned home by 2300 hours, the parents reported them missing. So that's about 11 o'clock in the evening. And the parents reported them missing. And a major search operation was launched. Immediately, police, together with canine units, began searching the area. By the next morning, over 50 volunteers from the Norwegian Red Cross were participating in the search. This number soon swelled to the hundreds. So a lot of people started contributing to this. I mean, this is something that just doesn't happen in this area. And so Let me go back here. So the number soon swelled to hundreds as Sea King and special police helicopters were called in along with rescue divers and civilian divers who trawled the lakes and the ponds in the area. Volunteer mountaineers also climbed the steep cliffs bordering Baneheia. Thank you very much for the Rose Naughty Crafts and for following also. And then while the fire department surveyed the shorelines, in the night of May 20th, 16 electronic listening posts, this is kind of interesting, listening posts were set up around the terrain. These listening posts could detect extremely low volume noise during the night. So this was done in case, the girls were calling out for help, maybe they were lost, maybe they were hurt. So these listening devices were set to pick up any sort of noise like that, which is really smart. I don't know if we have this in America or if we've ever employed this in America in searches for missing children, but I find this really, really interesting. It's the first time I've ever seen a case actually employ this. So they installed those listening devices. This was done in case the girls were lying injured somewhere in the hills, in which case even the most faint crying or sulking would have been easily detected. 2 days after the disappearance, the police expanded the search to include all of the woodlands and lakes adjacent to Christiansand, collectively known as Bimarka. Now, again, I'm probably saying these names wrong, but bear with me. Yes, I'm actually looking at Wikipedia right now, and then before the live, I actually watched a YouTube on this case, so I have a good bearing on it. One of my friends on here, his username is Chef. He told me about this particular case that happened in the year 2000, and it really did pique my interest. In some ways, it's similar to the Down the Hill Delphi murders that I covered yesterday. And so, but this case actually was very, very, it really shook Norway. It's something unheard of. And it really, really shook Norway when it happened. There is also another documentary on YT as well, but it is in Norwegian. It has English subtitles as well. I do recommend watching it. It's a very haunting case, is what I will say about this. And so, 2 days after the disappearance, the police expanded the search to include all of the woodlands and lakes adjacent to Christiansand, collectively known as Bimarka. Authorities also mobilized the military. This is kind of interesting. They mobilized the military in efforts to locate the missing children, with hundreds of troops from the Home Guard joining in. So I guess that would be kind of their version of the National Guard like we have here in the United States. So that was mobilized. So I imagine this is a really good example where they used all their resources that they had at hand. And so, let me see. So they were canvassing gardens. They were canvassing garages, boats, sheds, hedges, and kindergartens. So helicopters applied heat-seeking cameras. All tunnels in connection with the road construction in Baneheia were scanned, and all buses, ferries, trains, taxis were checked by armed police, but gave no clue as to the whereabouts of the girls. So this is, they were very thorough. I think we can take an example from them. I think they did a really good job in the actual search. And bear with me, I'm trying to get my needle in here. It's, okay. So 2 days after the disappearance, police announced the discovery of a human skeleton near the river Otra, near Egg Hospital, but quickly decided that it was most likely a missing German tourist unrelated to the case. It was later found, however, that the body belonged to a German psychiatric patient who had escaped from a nearby psychiatric hospital years before. So it was not the bodies of any of these little girls. And so later that same afternoon, around 1703 hours, police discovered bloodied clothes hidden under a layer of mosses. So they, this is where the story does become tragic, because it definitely doesn't have a happy ending. Let me just scroll down here. The find was approximately 50 meters west of the lake known as Stampy. And the police, together with the military personnel from the Home Guard, immediately moved in to cordon off the area. Later that evening, at approximately 2037, police announced the confirmation that both girls had been found murdered at the site. So, and it actually gets worse, guys. It really, unfortunately, it does get worse. And so, upon receiving the news, the reaction among the hundreds of search and rescue personnel on the site was one of enormous grief. Many breaking down and weeping inconsolably, others walking around in a state of shock. Now, you got to understand that Norway, at least at this time, I don't know how it is right now, it was definitely very children-friendly, very much a place where, you know, children were very protected. So the bodies of the two little girls were found hidden under pine branches in a small slab rock crack a few dozen meters west of the pond, which is one of the several ponds that constitutes a much frequently bathing area for the populace of Kristiansand. And the traces of blood were also found across the scene, along with the girls' clothes and shoes. They had been sexually assaulted, tied up, strangled, and stabbed to unaliving. So they had a very brutal death. I mean, this was an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. It's just sad what they had gone through. Now, the early investigation, after the discovery of the bodies, the police opened a murder investigation, naturally. And despite having received about 150 tips in the case, they were practically without leads. So they didn't have, very many problems. And you got to understand, in the year 2000, DNA evidence, all of this was in its infancy. It wasn't what it is today. Yeah, that's right, Tammy. It actually gets even worse, unfortunately. The Kristiansand police, however, stated that they were optimistic and confident that this case we will be able to resolve fairly quickly. So they must have had something at the time to be able to say that. Prime Minister Jens Stoltenberg and Minister of Justice Hein Harlem both stated that everything would be done to get the murders solved. So let me go ahead and flip this around a minute, because I do have to, hold on one second, guys. Apologize. I have to take a slight pause because I do have to, oh my goodness, I'm doing this. I have to, why is this being hard on me right now? Hold on one second, guys. I'm trying to undo this. Hold on. Oh, biscuits and gravy. This is not what I wanted. All right, you know what? We're going to go ahead and do it this way. All right, there we go. Okay, that works. I have to weave this thread in here. So we're taking a brief pause, and then we're getting back to the case. I'm trying to do, both embroidery and going over the case as well, which I'm getting better at, guys. So just be patient with me as we proceed forward. And I do have to thread another needle. What did I do with my scissor? There's my scissor. All right, so we're going to thread another bit of yarn on here in just a second. But what do you guys think about the case so far? While I'm threading the new thread, What are your thoughts on this? It's very similar to the Delphi case, don't you guys think? I want to learn. Thank you, Mel. I appreciate that. Mel says, I want to learn that my grandma showed me a few things but don't remember. And I'll tell you this, there's just so many different tools right now and video tutorials on here that it's actually very super easy to learn embroidery at the moment. In fact, let me post a really good 3-pack beginner embroidery kit here. This one will help you because it helps you learn all the stitches. And so I definitely recommend this one. The back of mine never looks that nice. You'll get better, Brenda. What you just have to remember is, like, for example, let's say I wanted to, let's say I'm using the same color over here. When I'm done with this one, I don't just jump across. I weave in the thread like I just did a little bit ago. And then I go and I start the new part. And you'll learn that with time. Trust me, it took forever for me to learn that bit of information on how to do things. When she passed, I got a lot of her embroidery stuff. Oh, wow, what a blessing. What a blessing that you have that to remember her by. I'm trying to find my needle threader. What did I do with it? Okay, here's the other needle. We'll just use this one. That is such a blessing and such a wonderful thing to remember her by. My grandmother used to do a lot of knitting and patching up of clothes, and I started after my grandmother passed away. So about 6, 7 years ago is when I started with my embroidery. But it is definitely something that is very calming, and it's very beautiful once you get the hang of it. But if you do start, again, don't be very hard on yourself. You're not going to, unless you're some type of savant, you are definitely not going to be a pro from the very beginning. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to learn. And that's all part of the embroidery process. So that's one thing I always tell my people who are considering learning to embroider is just don't be hard on yourself. Allow yourself to make mistakes. Get those Thank you, Vicky. I appreciate the compliment. Get yourselves those beginner friendly kits. Watch embroidery tutorials. In fact, I have a video on my page, guys, where I tell you guys a few people who do embroidery that you can really learn from, because they do a lot of tutorials on here on TikTok. So I have a list of people that you should look up and follow. So if you're considering embroidery, definitely look up those people, because you will definitely learn a lot. And this is one thing that you will find from me. I do not gatekeep, guys. If I find products on here, I'll tell you about them. If I find people on here that are really helpful, you will hear me give them shout outs and oftentimes even make videos about them, because I mean, that's how I learned embroidery. To be quite frank, I learned it from many different people, and I don't gatekeep. And I'm not one of the, yes, I have a goal of reaching 10K followers, but that doesn't mean that I also won't follow other people who have knowledge on this, because I do want my followers to learn, right? And if the way I teach you works, great. But if one of my friends who also do embroidery on here gets through a little bit better and has a better teaching technique, I don't get offended by that. Not even in a little bit. So anyway, we're going to get back to the case. Let me just grab a little bit of my drink here. So we're going to get back to the case. So on a normal Friday night, there tended to be around 200 people jogging and strolling around in Baneheia. And on the night of the crime, approximately 100 people were either jogging or walking through this area. Can you guys see me do this? Okay, good. So through this area, so about 100 people were around at the time of this crime. A fixed abode for recreational DRUG users that for years had been colloquially referred to as Acid Peak So this is a place that had a few bad apples in there too. Was only 200 meters from the place where the two little girls were found murdered. Police interviewed large numbers of individuals known to frequent the area in order to learn of any possible witnesses. And the area was also formerly known as a place where exhibitionists and voyeurs have operated. So, I mean, it had a bit of a reputation, but it was also a place where people went to, hey, how are you? How are you doing? And so, where was I? So, other possible suspects that were questioned by police included former SMEX offenders, local convicted rapists, convicted murderers, and even two psychiatric patients who had escaped from a psychiatric institution adjacent to the area. So it seems like they did have some issues with psychiatric patients escaping, especially considering that they did find the body of a psychiatric patient who had escaped also in the area close to where they found the bodies of these two little girls. Okay. Similar crimes, such as the murder of a 13-year-old girl in Sweden, were matched along with a brutal rape of two young girls in Oslo in the case of an eventual serial offender. So apparently they have their share of serial unalivers as well. Even cases of child murderers in England were re-examined for connections, right? Let's see, Queen have been lurking, getting ready to leave on vacation to North Carolina. Oh, yay, W North Carolina. I hope you enjoy your trip, Queen. North Carolina is beautiful. That's where I'm at right now, as North Carolina. Dress warmly, pack warmly, because it is a tad cold here right now. So the girls' names, let me go back up here. Hold on a second. Let me get to the names of the girls. The names of the girls, now these are Norwegian names. 10-year-old Lena Slogedal Paulsen and 8-year-old Stein Sophie Ostegard Sorstrenen are the names of the girls. So a 10-year-old and oh, welcome. See, I'm about 4 or 5 hours away from Raleigh. I'm more towards the Blue Ridge Mountains area, although I am, I'm about an hour and a half or so from the Blue Ridge Park area. So getting back to this case, Lena, 10 and 8-year-old. Yeah, definitely Google it. Google, this happened in Norway in the year 2000. It's known as the Baneheia Murders. So just so you know, there's actually some YouTube documentaries on this case as well. So, just to kind of get back to it, friends of the victims told police, oh my gosh, the shadows are killing me with my lighting, and I need to get me one of those professional lighting in here because I do a lot of my embroidery around the nighttime area, and these shadows are basically annoying me a little bit. Norway, the year 2000 is when this happened. 2000. Going to Sylvan, North Carolina. Oh gosh, definitely dress warmly though, my dear, because it is chilly in this area. So, in any case, friends of the victims told police investigators that the two girls had previously experienced a mysterious man following them during a swimming trip. Police initially theorized that the same man was the murderer. Let me put this through here. I'm just having a little bit of a hard time, guys. I apologize. The acting chief of the Criminal Investigation Service, Kripos, Hakon Skolstad, stated that worst case scenario was a traveling perpetrator who was just passing through the area. And oops, and I just did a little bit of a boo-boo, guys. Sorry, guys. I know they were little girls, and I mean, if you, yay, 200 comments. Congratulations, Joy. Brenda, thanks for joining the team as well, guys. And I apologize if I'm not like calling you guys out and reading out the comments as I'm reading this. When I'm done going over the case, we can definitely discuss it. And thank you to all the new followers and all of you guys that are contributing to all the wonderful goals here. You guys are superheroes. It's hopefully, I really want to reach 10K followers, guys, by the beginning of the year. So who knows? We'll see if we get there. Anyway, so basically, Skolstad stated that the worst case scenario was that this was someone who was just passing through. And there's a reason for that, as you can imagine. Just as Norway had experienced many years earlier in the case of Thomas Quick. However, professor and leading... So before I go on to the next part, the reason that it would have been a worst case scenario if it was a person just traveling through is the likelihood of that type of a perpetrator getting caught decreases. So it's much harder to investigate those type of cases. Just sent you 2 story suggestions I had forgot to mention. That's okay, April. No problem. I can always use suggestions for true crime because, you know, as you know, we'll be doing this every Wednesday. At the very least every Wednesday and possibly every Thursday as well. We'll be doing our Murder on the Hoop lives. So definitely, if you are not following, guys, make sure you follow because we'll be doing a lot of these. I will not stop because this is something I'm pretty passionate about. So, however, professor and leading forensic psychiatrist Berthold Grunfeld stated that it was unlikely that it was a person just basically traveling through the area. According to him, the murderer was most likely a man. So he was profiling, basically. A man in his 30s and without a prior criminal record. This was echoed by expert forensic psychiatrist Kjell Norik, who added that the perpetrator most likely was without any serious mental illness and was aware of his actions. So a sicko, not someone who had psychiatric issues, but just basically your plain sicko. And in May 2000, local police said their main theory was that they were most likely facing 2 perpetrators who had meticulously planned the murders in advance due to the difficulties of a single perpetrator would face in controlling both girls. Especially these girls were young girls. So, you know, young children are definitely not easy to control, right? And this is kind of similar with the theories that happened in the Delphi murders. Like the same type of theories were going around about this case as well. And so, so basically, as he attacked one, the other would have the opportunity to escape. In Baneheia, people are always close by, and there are plenty of hiding places among the pine thickets and rocks. So this gave a lot of places to hide. The odds were good that a lone assailant would fail. In June that same year, Kripos composed a profile for the killer, and their theory was that it only was one perpetrator. So it seems like they went back and forth with these theories. The police were also searching for 5 unidentified people who behaved suspiciously near Baneheia. So now we're going to go ahead and get into the arrests. Okay, during the early investigation, the local police wanted to arrest both Anderson and Christensen, but they were stopped by Kripos, who had come to assist the local police. The reason for stopping the arrest was that there were no evidence on either Anderson or Christensen at the time. So they wanted to have a rock solid case. But when checking the DNA found on the crime scene, there was a match on Anderson. On September 13th, after keeping him under surveillance for 48 hours, they arrested 19-year-old Anderson and charged him with double murder. According to the police, Anderson's DNA was a perfect match with pubic hairs found on the scene. He had no criminal record, so he fit the profile. He had no criminal record. Christensen was arrested at the same time as Anderson, although they still did not have any evidence on Christensen, which is, remember earlier in the case, this was also known as a case of a huge miscarriage of justice. And this is where we get into a little bit of that miscarriage of justice. They had really no concrete evidence on Christensen. Upon his arrest, Anderson initially denied having anything to do with the murders, which is typical. Even when confronted with DNA evidence, he kept denying that he had anything to do with this. And then moments later, when lead investigator Geir Hansen suggested that Anderson himself could be a victim in the case and that Christensen could have been the most active participant, Anderson admitted that he murdered one of the girls. He also named 21-year-old Christensen as murderer of the other girl. The two suspects were close friends and had even been seen by witnesses in Baneheia on the day of the murders. I got some digital crime while I embroider. Your life is validating me so much. Yes, Olivia, absolutely. I am a huge into true crime. I listen to Christina Randall, and also True Crime Profile, and oh my gosh, there's a few other ones that I listen to. So yeah, I thought, doing embroidery and true crime would be kind of cool. I know it's weird for some people, but this is something that I like. So definitely make sure you follow, because I do Murder on the Hoop every Wednesday at the very least. Sometimes I do Thursdays like I do now. Yesterday we went over the Delphi murders. Let me turn this around a little bit. Hold on a second, because I did a little knot, so I have to turn this around a second real quick while I try to unknot this. Let's see if I can do it. Please unknot. I might have to cut this. Yeah, I think I have to. Yep, I will have to cut this, guys. Sorry. Thank you for following, Olivia. Let me cut this, and then I'll have to rethread this. It's okay. It happens sometimes in embroidery, guys, especially with me, because I am the biggest klutz when it comes to anything and everything. But yeah, so we'll be doing this basically every Wednesday at the very least. So around 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I was a few minutes late today because I was trying to set up this embroidery stand that I just got. And just to let you know, this embroidery stand is found if you visit my videos, let's just put it that way, you will know how to find this embroidery stand that I have here. Hello, Butterfly Stitches. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. This is the back, so let me just turn it back around. Okay, here we go. All right. So now let me see where I left off. Now, I will tell you, it's very tricky doing both crime and embroidery at the same time. I will get better with time. The yellow fabric was beautiful. Yes, it does, Brenda. Thank you. Let me grab a little bit of a drink. Hello, Angie. Welcome. You'll see a little bit of pauses during this live as I go over the case. So basically, where was I? Okay, I read that. I went through that. So Anderson admitted, I read that part already. So Anderson explained that the two men had plotted to commit rape and murder in detail for some time. So these people were friends. So I don't really, I don't know, twisted people, and had bicycled around in Baneheia on the day of the murder looking for random victims when they spotted two girls swimming. After luring the girls into the woods by claiming to have kittens, Anderson said, Anderson said that he acted as the lookout while Christensen raped the two girls. This is so disgusting. And that he was forced to unalive Slogadel Paulson after fearing she would scream. My God, I can't even imagine the terror in these little girls. Christensen then stabbed Sorsternen to death when she tried to escape. He said Christensen was the dominant one and that it was he who gave the orders, which he felt compelled to follow as he was intimidated by Christensen. These two were best friends, so I don't know how much I buy any of this. So according to Anderson, Christensen threatened to kill him and as well as the girls if he did not comply. Christensen, however, vehemently denied having anything to do with the unalivings, with the murders. Both men were subject to evaluation by court-appointed psychiatrists, and both men were subsequently declared to be legally sane and fit to stand trial. And on September 28, Christensen was evacuated, I don't know why they're using that word, to a prison outside the city after an internet-organized vigilante mob started gathering on the street outside the courthouse. Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, this type of crime, I think, outraged the entire community. On the same day, Christensen Police Commissioner Anston Cleve publicly appealed for people to remain calm throughout the city. And then, of course, we're going to move on to the trial. On April 23rd, 2001, the trial against Anderson and Christensen began. By order of Prosecutor General Tor Axel Bush, both men were charged with identical crimes of rape and premeditated murder. In addition, and unrelated to the murders, Christensen was charged with rape and sexual abuse against a girl under the age of 10, indecent assault against a boy under the age of 10, and for looking at a woman through her window while she was getting dressed. So seems like he was a peeping Tom as well. Oy vey. So Christensen confessed in full tears that he had sexually abused the girl 5 times when he was between 15 and 17 years old. So an earlier crime before this. Wow. Christensen also confessed to the charges of the woman, so being a peeping Tom, but not for the charges of the boy. Christensen pleaded not guilty to the charge of 2 counts of premeditated murder and rape. Anderson pleaded guilty to 1 count of rape and 1 count of second-degree murder. The court heard 49 witnesses. 30 for the prosecution and 19 for the 2 defendants. I know, right? It's just sickening. These guys, I don't even know how they hadn't gotten convicted earlier. But during her testimony, Christensen's mother described his childhood as one with a lot of tantrums and rage. So it seems like he had pre-existing issues, if the own grandmother was testifying to this. In elementary school, he would frequently get into fights as well as having verbal outbursts with his teachers. The mother, let me go back in here real quick. The mother said his hot temper made him a target for the older children to pick on, and during The eighth grade, he had enough. He would leave home for school in the morning like usual, but it turned out later that he had not been in school for half a year. He dropped out of school altogether in the ninth grade and was since then involved with child psychiatric services. So this guy had issues. During the trial, prosecutor Edward Dahl painted Christensen as an extremely violent psychopath who was obsessed with pornography and grape. Two forensic psychiatrists testifying for the prosecution noted that he was intellectually quite simple and was unable to grasp basic terms and expressions. Sorry, guys, I do have to pause a second while I get my needle through on here. Furthermore, they described Christensen as chaotic and with an immature sexuality. They further concluded that he did not have any serious mental disorder. So I guess other than being simple-minded, he didn't really have a mental disorder, but rather had emotionally unstable personality disorder. We would no doubt regard him as having insufficiently developed mental faculties if he was found guilty. Let me go back in here. Sorry, guys. I apologize. Y'all tappity tap on that screen, and if you could, share the live and also follow. And we're going to get back into the case in just 1 second here. All right. So a 40-year-old neighbor who also worked as a community worker described Viggo Christensen as a ticking time bomb during his testimony. He based this on his gut feeling as well as his alleged previous experience with bullies and punks. The prosecutor also cast serious doubts on the veracity of Anderson's version of events. Amongst other things, Anderson had no explanation for why the girls were wearing each other's clothes when they were found. Y'all, remember yesterday when we were talking about the Baneheia murders and how the perpetrator took the clothes off of one girl and dressed the other girl in those clothes and left the other one naked? Yeah, looks like this perpetrator did the same. So, let me go back to, so they were basically, the girls were wearing each other's clothes when they were found. This is so disgusting. Is this yellow fabric or is it painted? Wondering for my pride. Oh, good question. Hey, Haley, this is actually yellow fabric, and I don't know where this came from. One of my friends, got it from a thrift store. It's gonna be one of those decorative pillows. So I'm going to sew it on to this decorative pillow that I have. So yeah, it's actually yellow fabric. It's just not normally the type that I work with. You're very welcome. Absolutely. I love answering questions, guys. So if it helps, it helps. So again, this was so disgusting because the girls were wearing each other's clothes. So this perpetrator took the time to undress these little girls, an 8 and a 10-year-old. And I think this is what kind of got Chef to recommend this case, the similarities. I don't know if they heard of each other in these cases. Thanks for following, Haley. I appreciate you, my love. So I'm going to pause a little bit. I'm going to take the time to kind of do a little bit of a thank you and a commercial on here. Looks like we got 16 new followers. 4 people have gifted in this live. And we are at 1.8K likes. So thank you. Guys can show when you sewed it to the pillow. I will show it. Absolutely. I've been doing this every step of the way, Miosotis. So I will definitely show you when I sew it onto the pillowcase that I've got. Definitely. Good point. Now I'm probably going to struggle a little bit with that because that's not normally what I do. But I will definitely show that to you and you guys will see the struggle. And absolutely, Brenda, I will do that. Let me turn this around, and I'm going to show you right now how I will basically secure the thread in the back here. Let me move this around. It's a little bit... So basically the way I secure the thread is I just come through the previous threads and I just pull the thread through here just like that. Just once or twice, maybe even 3 times sometimes. Sultan, thank you so much for the hand hearts. Oh my gosh, W. Sultan, thank you so much. That is a huge gift. Thank you. You are so awesome. That means so much to me, Sultan. Thank you. And I'm going over a Norwegian case, Sultan, just to let you know. I'm going over the case of the Baneheia murders. You might be familiar with that. You might have heard of it. I don't know. But that's the case that I'm going over at the moment. So let me... I do have to thread another... Oh, wait. No, I have this other one here. Hold on a second. I'm not going to waste the thread. We're going to get back into the case in just a second. And thank you for the heart, Miosotis. God bless you. You guys, I'm definitely trying to grow my channel. And the followers, the sharing, the gifts, that really, really helps bring this out to the For You page. This is my small business, basically. So you guys contributing in all of these ways is really, really extremely helpful and extremely welcomed, and I'm very thankful for you guys, so thank you guys for that. Okay, so let's get started back again. Let me move this a little bit so you guys can see. Is this clear? Thank you, Brenda, for the rose. I appreciate that. So let's get back into the case as soon as I pull this needle through. So, furthermore, Anderson had changed his story several times during interrogation, which, of course, if you listen to any amount of true crime, you know that criminals do this all the time. They change their stories. It's them trying to escape justice. And only when confronted with evidence had he admitted to molesting the girls, as well as covering the bodies with pine branches. He never showed any sign of remorse. So Anderson is the main one in here, as you will come to see. And Sandy goes home. Thank you so much for following. I appreciate you, my love. He never showed any signs of remorse, seeing himself as another victim of his co-defendant. So he was basically passing the buck and the blame to his co-defendant. Court psychiatrists noted his striking tendency to blame every aspect of the crime on Christensen, but could not agree on a definite diagnosis. In the end, it was Anderson's statement which was the main pillar in the verdict against Christensen. So remember, I told you guys that this is also known as one of the cases of a huge miscarriage of justice. So when they were bringing the case against Christensen, it was basically based on the case Anderson and the accusation Anderson was giving against Christensen. So Christensen was found guilty on all accounts and sentenced to 21 years imprisonment, containment equivalent to a life sentence. And then Anderson was found guilty of 1 count of murder and rape and sentenced to 19 years in prison. According to the verdict, Viggo Christensen was the leading force behind the crime. The court established that Christensen and Anderson both had a subnormal IQ of 83 and 84 respectively. So pretty low IQs, at least according to the court. That Christensen is to be considered dangerous, has, pedophile tendencies, small or no possibility of improvement, and that it is a reasonable danger that he might commit violent acts and sexual abuse. The court-appointed psychiatrist concluded that Christensen had a severe personality disorder, most likely borderline personality disorder. So it seems like they were really going hard against Christensen. The presiding judge, Asbjørn Ness Hansen, wrote in his sentencing, and this is what the judge said: each of the victims had been subjected to the extreme burden of having been forced to listen to the other being raped while moaning in pain. Lena must have had thoughts about what would happen to her while Stein, Sophie, was being raped. After Lena was killed, Stein, Sophie must have heard the defendants quarreling about who was going to unalive her. Jen Hagel Anderson explained that Stein, Sophie, took Lena's arm and later peered onto her. She probably understood at the time that Lena was dead. The district court had referred in its judgment, it is not possible to comprehend the fear and the suffering that the two girls went through before they finally died. Oh, thank you, Gail. I appreciate the compliment. Ooh, this case is like really, really hard to get through because those of you who are parents can only, we as parents can only imagine what these beautiful little girls went through. News channel TV2 reported Christensen's emotional effect inside the courtroom immediately after sentencing was read as one of wearing a grin on his face while chewing gum. They later aired the videotape during the evening news after Christensen's lawyer told the media that Christensen had been absolutely devastated by the verdict. In a 2008 interview, Christensen explained his reaction, saying that he was smiling at the mere absurdity of the situation, which is kind of strange. He also accused the media of using the clip to portray him as a cold-blooded monster without emotions. This incident sparked a long legal conflict between TV2 and the court due to the law banning recording of defendants inside the courtroom. So in Norway, apparently, recordings inside the courtrooms are banned. So it's not quite like in the United States, where most of the time the judge allows for media inside the courtrooms, unless they, there are some certain times where they do gag orders or they don't allow media in some cases. So basically, where was I? So TV2 was eventually cleared of any wrongdoing. So the media's outlet was cleared of any wrongdoing. Christensen was not given an ordinary prison sentence, but rather sentenced to containment. The Norwegian legal term is a forvaring, a form of special protective custody, which means he may be held in prison indefinitely and is subject to release only at the discretion of a judge after his sentence is served. Containment is... Sorry, guys, hold on one second. So containment is roughly comparable to a life sentence in many other European countries. Christensen was serving his sentence at Ila prison, while Anderson was serving his sentence at Telemark prison in Skien up until 2012, when he was transferred to a minimum security prison in order to better prepare him for his eventual release on parole, possible from April 2013. Anderson was released January 2015. He has since settled into the city of Tønsberg. Can you imagine that? And buyers for following, thank you. Can you imagine that? So like I said, in America, we have a different criminal court and we do things quite a bit differently. And I have heard it said, like, for example, in Sweden, where I used to live for 1 year, I have heard it said that you'd get a harsher punishment for robbing a bank than committing murder. So I don't know how the Norwegian court is, but it seems like it is kind of similar to that. Oops. Oh my gosh. Sorry, guys. I just knocked my phone stand. I am so sorry. I apologize for that. So basically Anderson, the main perpetrator, is apparently free, which is sickening to me. After briefly, so the murders, according to the verdict in 2001, on their way home from the lake, the girls ran. So this is kind of like the timeline of how things actually took place. So on their way home from the lake, the girls ran into the two assailants, Christensen and Anderson, who had been bicycling around the area looking for potential victims. They were lured by Christensen, who pretended to be looking for his lost kittens, up to a more secluded part of the terrain. At the trial, the court established that both girls were at this point first ordered to undress. Then sexually assaulted by Christensen, Anderson contributed to this act by subduing the girls, as well as later sexually molesting Sorcernen. After Christensen had raped Slogedal Paulsen, he unalived her by stabbing her 3 times. Once in the abdomen, chest, and 2 times in the neck, severing her right carotid artery. These little girls, they went through so much. So after briefly arguing over who was going to unalive the remaining child, Anderson proceeded to stab Sorcernen once in the neck, also severing her carotid artery, while Christensen was holding her arms and legs. The 2 men then covered the bodies with vegetation and stuffed their bodies between the slab rocks before hiding the girls' blood-soaked swimsuits in a nearby muddy drainage pipe. After walking back towards the neighborhood of Egg, where they lived, the 2 men planned a fictitious alibi for the time of the murders. And then Christensen was to say he was in his workshop, while Anderson was to say he was jogging. Hey, Daniel. And later in the day, the 2 men met up at Christensen's house, where they called up 2 other friends in an attempt to bolster their alibi. So there was actually a reopening of the case against Christensen. So in the spring of 2010, DNA samples which Bente Mevag claimed were not in possession of the Rettsmedicinsk Institute were located in a freezer at that institution. And basically 199 samples were found. So from 199 samples from the case apparently were found at this institution. The samples were tested and the analysis gave no indication that the victims had been killed by 2 persons. So this is where, oh, thank you so much, Thrifted, for the populars and the heart. I appreciate you, my love. And so that theory that there were 2 perpetrators was basically in the process of getting tossed out the window. So in February of 2021, after Christensen had previously unsuccessfully applied for a reopening 6 times, including 2 appeals, and I can't pronounce this name yet, no, it's a long thing, voted in favor of reopening his case. The decision was split 3-2. Sorry, guys, 1 second. The decision was split 3-2, with the chairperson of the commission, Siv Hallgren, dissenting. In February 2021, the case was transferred to the jurisdiction of the Oslo office of the public prosecutor. The office sent the case to the Oslo police district for investigation. And let me just double check. I feel like no, I didn't. I thought I did something here. Can't see long as it's a mom's duty time, but had to, oh, no problem. I understand. Guys, follow Thrifted. This is one of the people I was telling you guys about. I made a video of who to follow if you're wanting to learn embroidery. She does lives, usually a little bit later in the day when she puts her babies to sleep. But she also has a lot of tutorials, guys. Oh, thank you for the Tom Christmas. I appreciate that, my love. So definitely give her a follow if you are really serious about wanting to learn embroidery. Of course, her videos are free to watch, and her lives are very, very, very educational, guys. So definitely give her a follow. And Mel, thank you very much for following. Cherry Viper, welcome in here. And we're going to get back into this case in just a second, guys. Let me just put my needle through here. It's a little bit hard to read the case and then also do this. But anyway, so Christensen's attorney subsequently requested for his client to be released from prison after learning about this decision from the Criminal Cases Review Commission. Christensen had until then refused to apply for parole as he considered this to be a recognition of his sentence. Both the prison authority and the Court of Appeals denied his request. The latter in a split 2-1 decision. Christensen's attorney again appealed the decision to the Supreme Court of Sweden, which is really interesting because this happened in Norway, but they appealed it to the Supreme Court in Sweden. I'm really confused. Anyway, a month later, before the Supreme Court could hear the case, the state prosecutor responsible for the case decided to drop his objection to Christensen's release. So this is a case where he sounds like a bad person, Christensen. I don't know if I agree with him being released or whatever, but really, in essence, there was really no evidence against him other than what Anderson was claiming. So this is really interesting. The next day, on June 1st, the Supreme Court unanimously decided to release Christensen from prison. He left prison around 23 hours later the same evening. So this is why it was known as a huge miscarriage of justice, meaning there was no evidence against him, but they had convicted him of murder and rape and all of it. So then it goes on to say that Riksadvokat Jorn Sigurd Maurd, representing the top level of the prosecuting authority in Norway, apologized. So this is kind of what gets me confused, because there was the Swedish Supreme Court and the Norway is also involved. So I'm a little confused about that. Hello, I am Magical. Welcome. Apologized on the 21st October of 2022, saying, "I am sorry for the injustice that has been done." Thank you very much for the Tom Christmas, Amanda. I really appreciate you, my love. Thank you so much for supporting this live. And so they said, "I am sorry for the injustice that has been done." And it is an injustice, because, I mean, really, as bad as this guy seems and whatever, they didn't do the case properly. They had no evidence against him. The apology unleashed apologies from the director of police, from Kripos, from the office of the public prosecutor of Agder, and from Agder Police District, who investigated the case. And then in October 2022 reaction to the development of the case, the Ministry of Justice ordered a full fact-finding on all institutions that have handled the case. She added that the Ministry of Justice is now creating a mandate for fact-finding. And so this is just... And then, so the controversies in this case. So following the verdict in 2001, Christensen and his supporters have raised several issues concerning the evidence for the verdict. The main issues are related to the interrogating techniques performed on Anderson, the location of Christensen's cell phone during the time of the murders, Christensen's alibi as per witnesses, whether there were two perpetrators or one, and the validity of the DNA evidence. Hey, Chef, I'm going over that case that you said, the Baneheia Murders. I'm almost at the end of it. So with Christensen, basically, because even the cell phone evidence does not put him at the scene of the crime. So this was not done in the original 2001 case trial that they had done. It is very interesting. I really went down the rabbit hole with this one. I was watching the YouTube videos on this too. And at the beginning, I really believed that Christensen also had something to do with this. And then just keep in mind that both of these perpetrators had an extremely low IQ. But anyway, they prosecuted this guy with basically virtually no evidence. Just on the word of Anderson. Hello, Janet Marie. Thank you for joining. Oh, and thank you for the heart me, Chef. I appreciate it. And thank you for sending me this case. So this is the person who recommended this case. That I look into it, Chef. So make sure you guys are following Chef. He's really, really cool. So definitely go ahead and give him a follow, guys. So anyway, the interrogation, this is a little bit long, guys, so I do apologize, but it is a very fascinating case. Very super fascinating. So during the initial interrogation of Anderson, the police applied controversial suggestive questions. Suggestion questioning techniques. The lead investigator, without any formal training, proceeded with so-called informal conversations with Anderson while waiting for his attorney to arrive. During this time, the interrogator informed Anderson that the police knew there was more than one perpetrator. He also introduced Anderson to the idea that Christensen was a participant and even the leading force of the crime. The interrogator wrote the following in the police report. So basically, the confession that came out of Anderson was very coached. There was incriminating evidence against Anderson, but to kind of get him to, I used to love embroider, but now hard for me to thread the needle. I am a senior. Oh, see, this is what you need for, Flavia. You need to get yourself an embroidery threader. I use this all the time to thread the embroidery. Let me show you how I do it. There's so many different ones out there, Flavia, and I can't do it without this. Let me show you. Hold on a second. I definitely have a solution for that. So you take your needle. Oh, you're welcome. And you can get this at any store. You take your embroidery threader, which looks like this. Hey, bud, what are you doing?
Nothing.
Oh, you're back?
No, I was back for a minute.
You were? What's up?
Say I might go out later.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Where are you going?
To a restaurant.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. I'll text you to get more details because I'm nosy.
Not with who you think.
Okay. I'm so nosy with my kids, guys. Sorry. So basically, you're going to need a needle threader, and there's many different kinds out there, but I recommend getting a few different kinds. I'm using 3 threads. So basically, you take your needle threader and you put it through the eye of the needle like that, and then you put your actual thread through that bigger part right here. You put it through there, which is much easier than putting it through the eye of the actual needle. So you put it through there like that. Oops, hold on. It's hard to see when I'm doing it on camera. Like that. So you pull it through a little bit, and then you take your needle and you pull it through just like that. And I do have a few needle threaders in my TikTok shop, guys, for those of you who want some. But you can get them at any store, honestly. They're really easy to find. Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Walmart, all of these places have that. Absolutely, Flavia. So I hope that resolves and gets you back into embroidery. Also, Flavia, are you Romanian by any chance? I know a lot of people named Flavia who are Romanian, and I'm Romanian, so I'm going to give you, I requested to follow you, my dear. And I love that name. It's a beautiful name. But, all right, so, let's see here. where was I? So the interrogator wrote the following in the police report. I explained for Anderson that the police now knew he was one of the perpetrators. And this is according to the interrogation documents, guys. So he said, I also told Anderson about the advantages he would get by explaining everything. I asked Anderson if he himself could be a victim in some sense, since his best buddy, Viggo Christensen, could have been the most active participant. So basically, this is called, for those of you who follow, Portuguese. Okay. Well, still, I love that name. Flavia is, like I said, very popular in Romania, but I'm not surprised because, our cultures kind of sometimes intersect a little tiny bit. And anyway, so he said his best buddy, Viggo Christensen, could have been the most active participant. When I said this, it was obvious that Anderson got something to think about. We talked a little bit back and forth about the relationship between Anderson and Christensen, and there was no doubt that Christensen was the strong one, the one in charge. So this investigator came to this conclusion simply by leading this witness, which that, of course, gets tossed out in America. You don't get away with that kind of stuff. I mean, this is grounds for dismissing, and verdicts here in America. So Greg McCary from the FBI testified in court. So America, I guess, got involved in this in 2011 and said the following about this interrogation. It was a very alarming way to interrogate a witness. The police must never give the name of possible perpetrators or ask leading questions. McCary also said that it seemed obvious that Anderson had been guided since the details changed from interrogation to interrogation. Gisley, and I can't say the last name, professor of forensic psychology at King's College London, who is also an expert on suggestibility and false confessions, wrote in his report that the initial police interrogator most likely ruined the case. So this is crazy about this case. There's just so much that was done wrong in this. And then telecommunication alibi. Let me just move this a little bit more like this, so you guys can see this a little bit better. Okay, sorry. 3 times around the time of the murders at 1924 and 1937 and 2020, Christensen's cell phone was used. Reports from Telenor and Teleplan showed that his phone had connected to a particular cell site. EGA, which normally would not cover the murder location, according to both reports, technicians were unable to replicate the situation. Both reports concluded, however, that they could not completely dismiss that it was possible. So, at least according to these reports, Christensen was in his phone was not actually in the area. And then witness alibis. Ooh, I'm so sorry, guys. My little leg is hurting a little bit. Christensen's mother testified during the trial that she saw her son arriving and walking in the backyard on the evening of the murders, and that therefore he could not have been at the murder site. So it seems like during Christensen's trial, they completely ignored all of this. This is such a messed up case. Wow. This statement also matched the measurements in the telecommunication report, since the cell site connected to Christensen's phone was close to his home. So he was nowhere, at least according to all of this, he was nowhere near the home. Just Jody, thank you so much for following, my love. I appreciate that. And so, let me go back. Where was I? A fact Christensen's mother couldn't have known about since the cell phone alibi wasn't discovered until the trial was almost over. So the trial was almost over and they didn't bother to present this evidence. I mean, no doubt, I think Christensen had mental issues. But if he was innocent of this, this is like a huge miscarriage of justice. This is ridiculous. And so, a Scandinavian Airlines pilot who had some spare time in Christensen before his next flight saw a man together with two girls between 1940 hours and 500 hours in Baneheia. Let me just put this through here. The pilot only watched them from a distance, but he saw enough to describe the color of their clothes, which matched the color of the clothes of Anderson and the victim. So only Anderson and the victims, not Christensen. So this is even eyewitness accounts. Despite extensive public outreach for everyone who was in the area to contact the police, there were no other reports of a grown-up person with two children. The pilot was not called to witness for the court. That's strange. The observation of the pilot skewed the time period of highest probability of the murders between 1900 and 2000 military time to between 2000 and 2030. So during the span of time, Viggo Christensen used his mobile phone not only to send and receive text messages, but also to calmly speak with a friend. None of these 5 witnesses were called to the court as witnesses either. Can you imagine? I mean, no matter how bad of a person you are to be falsely accused based on basically no evidence whatsoever, that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare. A suspect profile report from the National Criminal Investigation Service in Norway, Kripos, suggested that there might be only one perpetrator since both victims were killed in a similar way. So they seem to ignore this entire profile that was actually given initially. In the interrogations with the police, Anderson had described in detail how the girls were killed, a method he had learned by watching a special type of documentary called reality TV. But he was only sentenced for killing one of the victims, while Christensen was sentenced for killing both. Again, with no evidence. The suspect profile report was presented neither for the court nor for the lawyers and was unknown by the public until 2010, when Christensen's lawyer Sigurd J. Klumset finally got hold of it by appearing personally at Kripos after several filed written requests. FBI expert Greg McCary agreed with the conclusion of the report. So it's just really strange. In addition, the defense has pointed out the extreme rareness of 2 perpetrators in such a case. In fact, there had never been a record of 2 adult perpetrators where children have been murdered, neither in Europe nor the United States. So the unlikelihood of that happening is very high. And an American survey from 2008 said that only 2% of all types of murder cases had more than one perpetrator. And there's a reason for that, because most perpetrators don't risk having another person involved because it increases the likelihood of getting caught. So, I mean, there's so much more of this case to really get into, and I think we're going to have this as a part 2. Because that's a lot as it is, with this. So we're going to end the case on this note, guys. We're going to do a little bit more probably next Wednesday. So if you're not already following me and you are enjoying embroidery and true crime at the same time, if you're enjoying Murder on the Hoop, guys, please make sure that you guys are following. I might come in a little bit later on and do another live later, which is just going to be embroidery, and that's it. So I'm going to give you just a few moments to go ahead and follow. I know. Thank you, Just Jody. I want me to come up with and discuss. Yeah, absolutely, Chef. Let me get rid of this rose thing, if it'll let me, so that way you can come up a little bit and let's discuss this. All right, you can request up, Chef, if you'd like. Absolutely. Chef has a lot of knowledge of this case. He's the one who actually brought this case to my attention. So let me bring him up. Hello, Chef. Oh, it's connecting. Taking a little bit to connect.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good.
All right, so let's get into it. You tell me more because you're from the area, right?
Yeah, so I always forget the year it started, the full case.
2000. 2001 is when the case.
Yeah, I was 10 years at the time when this happened, and this happened so close to where I live. It's just a 30-minute car drive.
Oh, wow.
And Baneheia is a popular place for families to go for walks, to bathe, to do camping and picnicking. So it's a prime family spot.
Right.
So for something like this to happen there was unthinkable, because there were always people there. There should always be somebody looking, somebody seeing.
Right.
And I don't know if you have gone into the pictures of the guys.
I didn't show the pictures yet, no.
So
actually, hold on, let me see if I can find them. Hold on, let me open up my computer again real quick. Hold on a second. Where's my glasses? I need my glasses. Sorry, guys. Let's see. I'm getting there. Let me see if I can find the pictures of them. Hold on, let me just scroll up on here. There's a lot. Like, this case is a lot longer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole. It's a huge rabbit hole.
And the miscarriage of justice, as it seems, it's like, it's crazy. Because when I was first listening to it, I was like, yeah, they're both definitely guilty. And then I'm like, wait a minute.
There's so many things that doesn't add up. There was no DNA from one of the guys. There was only the other guy's DNA at the spot. Yes.
Yeah.
And how the police went after... oh my God.
Anderson. So Anderson is the one who actually did it. And Christensen is the one who they had no evidence against, at least according to this.
And one of the cops really wanted it to be Christensen's because he knew he was a bad apple. Okay, he had prior convictions of not appropriate behavior towards minors, but he was also. They don't speak about the year that happened when he had a appropriate relationship with a minor. It was just a 2-year difference in the 2 or 3 years difference in their relationship.
Yep.
So the cop really wanted it to be him. They wanted to pin him to the wall with everything they could because they thought he was evil. Because some of the police officer in or around the area of Kristiansand. Okay. They really wanted it to be him also.
So this one is Anderson, the actual person who did it.
Yes.
And this one is Christensen. And these are the girls.
Thing is, yeah. The thing that doesn't show in those two pictures are that Anderson is a big guy. He's huge compared to Christensen.
Oh man, because this guy looks bigger than him in the picture.
Yeah, and the thing is, they perpetrated Christensen as the evil one in this murder relationship because they thought he was coercing Andersen.
Yeah,
they would try to spin that narrative. But when they came to court and the other newspapers got this case, and they started taking pictures of these two guys and how the jury and lawyers reacted when they saw these two perpetrators, was that, holy shit, how is that small little guy supposed to coerce that giant to do anything?
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, that's crazy. And the fact, and there's a similarity between you remember we were talking about the Delphi case yesterday? What the perpetrator in this case also did was switch out the clothes from the girls. So Anderson put the clothes of the other girl on the other one, and vice versa. In the Delphi one, the perpetrator attempted to do that as well, but left one naked. What else do you remember about this case from that time? Like the feeling in the community and all that.
The feeling, even as far as Grimstad to Arendal. By the way, Frozen is based on Arendal. Even to all the way to Oslo, it's a 6 to 7 hour car ride. The urgency of protecting your own child became super high for every parent around. You could even feel other parents starting to try to protect other kids if they didn't see their parents was around or anything. The community got tighter for a couple of years. More activity around kids' activities were highly more secured by parents and stuff like that. So it brought a lot of communities closer, and crime was actually at a decrease.
Oh, wow.
Because so many people are keeping their eyes out.
Wow. Now, do you remember what was the feeling in the community when it came out that Christensen was technically innocent? Like, what do you remember around that time?
So, around that time, it was the media didn't want to talk about it for a few reasons, because there was still so much anger.
Right.
There was still so much anger around this area, and as soon as somebody tried to say that he was innocent or not guilty, people would basically start fights almost.
I can imagine, because
there were huge discussions and everything.
So, because like when I was listening to this case, I'm like, no way is he not guilty. No way. But then kind of looking further into it, like when they did the cell phone, like where the cell phone pinged, number one, that backed up his alibi. The fact that there's no DNA evidence that links him to it. And then not only that, but the profilers, before they caught Anderson and before they brought accusations against Christensen, they said their profile said it was one guy without a prior record. So, and the way that the police just kind of basically coached Anderson into basically
admitting his guilt to it.
But also accusing Christensen of this. It's just, I don't know, like that is a huge miscarriage of justice. I mean, that's horrible. Like,
I don't know how far you got into it to this live.
Almost
like
to the end.
You ended, yeah, almost to the end. So, 5 years ago, they decided to take everything up again.
Okay.
They decided to take the whole case up to review all the evidence for Christensen. And it shows that he is innocent. And there are still people out there who was shooken by this, that has come out in later years and actually wants to apologize to the guy because they were blinded by the rage.
Of course.
During this case.
Yeah, I can imagine. I would be too. I mean, like, and here's the thing. Once someone is convicted of something, once someone is accused of something as egregious as this, for someone to believe that they are not, in fact, guilty is very hard to undo that. It's very hard to undo that. It's
The other thing I remember from this case is that a lot of schools started to implement not the same tactic as the US. Have you seen something? Say something. It was more like if you ever feel like you want to talk to your tutor or your teacher in private, the door is open, like an open door talk policy.
right, right. Well, from what I understand, Norway and places like Sweden are very huge proponents for children's rights. At least when I lived in Sweden back in 2006, I think it was. I don't know how it is now. I mean, I think things probably changed quite a bit, but it used to be a place, from what I recall, very children oriented, very family oriented. So,
It is. The main focus of the Scandinavian countries are children's rights and for them to have a good education and a good place to live.
right.
Sometimes it's skewed that we have some cases where children has been taken from their parents where the government had no rights to take their children, and bad stuff has happened to those children, sadly. But it's always a work in progress. You always have a few bad apples acting out for their own self-interest, even in government.
Yep, that's true. I did see a case many years ago where children got taken away from this Christian family because they were trying to instill Christian values in their children. And I that was huge. It was a Romanian family, actually. I don't know if it was in Norway or in Sweden. It was in one of these two countries, but I can't remember which one exactly. So it can go both ways. Like if the state gets too involved in parenting, things can go wrong too. I think, and we have to recognize that. But yeah, it can go both ways. But this case, like, really kind of shook me a little bit when I was reading over it.
The thing that should have been done there back in the 90s was a intervention by social workers, because Christensen was a bad apple, but not a rotten apple like Anderson was. And a lot of intervention by either social worker, other parents, friends, or family could have helped him even more than what happened. So he basically sat 20 years in the slammer for nothing he did.
Yeah. And that can't make him a better
every day was
person
proclaiming his
either.
innocence.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, now, and this is kind of the danger. Like, he was put in prison unjustly, but now he's released. But he spent all this time in prison, which can't be good for his psyche. And that can, I mean, it's a double-edged sword at this point, because now, he was in the system, and potentially that system didn't make him better. Potentially it damaged him.
Potentially, yes. Some psychological damage will occur for everybody who's incarcerated. In Norwegian prisons, they're basically 4-star hotels.
Oh, really?
For everybody listening to this, if you can imagine a hotel in Spain where you get food 3 times a day or 4 times, depend on your dietary needs, it's basically like that. And some of them have their own gyms where you can go freely to. The only thing that is the biggest punishment that the Norwegian government will do to you is take away your freedom to leave whenever you want. And that's like the biggest thing for Norwegians, because if I want to leave my house, I will leave my house at any time I want to. 2 in the night, 9 in the morning. And to not have that freedom sends a lot of mental shock through your system.
Of course.
That you actually have to stay here until we say you can go, or at least 21 years. That's our max penalty. But if you have dietary needs, let's say you cannot eat pork because your stomach cannot handle pork, you will get beef, lamb, or chicken every day.
Oh, wow.
If you like to go to the gym, they will even help you find the protein powder for you to have the regular dietary needs for your gym.
Oh, wow.
If you want to take the what's it called again? Let's say you want to become a lawyer. You want to start a study. You're allowed to start studying in jail. And if you have to go to the dentist, then they will drive you to the dentist. The government will pay for your teeth.
Oh, wow.
To get fixed and everything. If you need psychiatry help, they will help you with that too, because they are trying to do they're trying to lower the reoffense rate.
God, I understand. Well, I mean, and here's what's crazy.
In a lot of places, it helps.
Yeah, I mean, that seems amazing that the system is like that, and it seems to be a good way to rehabilitate. But I can totally speak to not being able to get out. Like, no matter how good the prison is, not being able to leave whenever you want. I mean, I can tell you, like, last year when I was in the hospital for over a month, and the fact that I couldn't leave, even just to go downstairs in the hospital, like, it did take a mental toll. And I can only imagine 21 years for this guy to spend in prison, no matter how good the conditions might have been. That's crazy. It's absolutely nuts.
I just I put up a photo from the from one of the prison cells in Norway. So
oh wow,
you have
that's
your own
a prison
bed,
cell,
desk, everything. Yeah, you see it. There's bars on the window,
right?
And you have your own coffee pot. What's it called again? Refrigerator and your own toilet. Inside here is your toilet and shower. And that is one of the low max, I would say, this is one of the newer ones for a bit more overcrowded prisons. You have your own toilet, sink, bed, everything, but you do not share beds with anybody else.
Wow, definitely. Like Maricela in the comments said, that's nicer than my room too.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And here is one of the other examples. Like, this is the common area. Like, if you're, because you can get a prison apartment. So it's basically in square foot. That would be 400 square foot apartment, where one of the common rooms are like this, and you will have 6 or 7 bedrooms with their own toilet and everything. But you would have your kitchen, you would have the living area together with everyone else.
Right. Wow.
So those are some of the things they are doing to try to reintegrate you to society. That you spend time with people. Let's say you have half a year of your sentence left. You can apply for one of these condos or apartments, and you will be following strict rules. You have to wake up by then. You have to make food by then. You will have to do roll call by then.
Wow. That's crazy. I mean, and I think, I guess that's great. The only thing that kind of gets me is how short, let's say Christensen was in fact guilty, which obviously he's not, but the fact that it was 21-year prison sentence for the other guy, and the fact that Anderson is out. He is out of jail, as far as I know. That's crazy. After unaliving 2 little girls, that's crazy that he's out. Thank you for the Tom Christmas, Marcella. Y'all, those of you in the comments, please send some roses to Chef here. He's the one who gave me this case. And as you can see, he put a lot of perspective into the case as well. He is in Norway, and he was about 10 years old when this case was happening, and he was sharing with us his recollections around the case. So that really gives us a really good perspective. So I definitely appreciate that. But yeah, that's nuts. I mean, I don't know. And this kind of, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. The thing is that the other guy, he's never going to see daylight because we have 21 year as a max sentence. But you can also take a 20-year one of him being incarcerated, but not in jail, but at home, basically.
At home. Oh,
so he will have to wear an ankle monitor or something like that.
Oh, so he's not actually free then? Like he's monitored.
Christensen is free, but the other guy is monitored everywhere he goes. His internet, his telephones, and everything is monitored.
Okay, so for the rest of his life.
Yeah, basically.
Good, good.
So, but Christensen is well off.
Good. Yeah, I heard that
He got
lawsuits.
A settlement.
Okay.
Yeah, he won the lawsuit against the state. The thing is, the government didn't want this lawsuit at all because it showed you how it's wrong to say corrupt, but it's also right to say corrupt. The system can be. Because it shows you that a lot of police officers, some of the judiciaries show their own biases in the case without being unbiased.
Right.
It showed you that how easy you can manipulate the case without showing certain kinds of evidence and withholding testimonies, and by the police being lazy. And this led to a lot of other cases being reviewed, like 155 other cases being reviewed.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was basically a justice unalignment on Norway's side by this full case.
Wow.
Because a lot of people has lost all trust in the justice system, and slowly they are trying to rebuild the trust. But every time there's a new case, it shows that, oh shit, they did wrong here too.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know, like, this is what I do appreciate the way that the justice system works here in the United States. The fact that, let's say that this had happened in the United States, where Anderson was coached into giving this kind of confession and implicating Christensen and let's say it happened here in the United States. Sure, let's just say by some stretch that Christensen still got convicted based on no evidence at all, which it's very unlikely that it would happen here. But let's say it did. You still have appeals after appeals after appeals, and then you have things like the Innocent Project which is an amazing foundation that takes on cases, especially as new DNA evidence comes out and all of this. So this is what I like about our justice system, which of course it's not perfect, but a case like that, I don't know, I find it very unlikely that in these actual circumstances it would have happened here in the States.
Yeah.
But
that's
never say never, because you never know, I guess. But the flip side is it's good that it did get a lot of other cases looked at, and it seems like at least this is going to cause Norway to be more cautious in the way that they investigate cases, hopefully, in the future.
Hopefully that, because you never know how your judge is going to act. You never know how the police is going to act. We had a young kid beaten half to unalignment by the cops in Stavanger.
Oh wow!
And the police said, no, the kid was the aggressor. I just defended myself. And then the gas station showed the full video of what happened. And it shows that the police officer was the aggressor. He did not de-escalate. He started beating on the kid. Right. He ended up in hospital for 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
That's how bad it was for the kid. And the police was trying to threaten the gas station workers to not show any evidence before this case was shut and finished.
Wow.
And how can you do that is immoral for the cops and for the justice system. But the lawyer said, fuck this. Come take me if you want. I have cameras too.
Right.
And it showed that the police was in the wrong. The kid will never get the money for this attack. Like what's it called again?
Like Christensen?
No, yeah, like Christensen. Like he will never get the money from the government for having a corrupt cop on the beat. The cop only got half a year suspension with pay.
Oh,
and he's back at work now.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it's fucked up.
That really
is.
This
case really put the justice system back 5 years, even more when that happened.
Well, I bet. I mean, I think that
So yeah.
there really needs to be, not that, so here in America, of course, there's certain things we really need to work on with our justice system as well. It's absolutely not perfect, but it just really makes me really a lot more thankful that I think for the most part, I feel like it's better. What do you think? Like comparatively?
Comparatively, you're innocent to proven otherwise. It's a good system to have. We're supposed to have the same in Norway too, but it's. I would say in the same way that Lion says is when the government becomes too big, it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And the government in Norway is too big, and you can see the problems coming out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
A easy way to say it, that we have a lot of politicians who are corrupt. They are publicly corrupt and just say, sorry. And nothing happens with them. No jail time, no nothing, no fines even.
That's crazy.
And that's a problem.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's, oh, goodness gracious. Yeah. This was a definitely nutty batty.
Yeah. We have a other case that you might know of, the Utøya. It's also it's not a huge topic, but it's about the mass shooting that happened in 2011.
Oh, okay. If you want to send me on Discord that name again, because I'll look it up too. And the next time I do Murder on the Hoop is going to be next Wednesday. So Wednesday around 5 p.m. But so I'm going to be doing a case every single Wednesday and probably Thursdays as well, depending on how many cases I get. But yeah, this was an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, it is. Like you said, there hasn't been a case like this in the whole of Europe, like ever. And then you find in a small place, Norway, that we're trying to make this case. It's mind-boggling, basically.
It really is. Yeah, that's I don't know, like just the fact, because like I said, when I was first listening to this, like my first initial thought is like they both look guilty as sin, because I mean, to be real, like if we all have our little prejudices or presuppositions, and Christensen definitely looks a little bit like a thug, but it just kind of goes to show you can't go based off of, what someone looks like. Oh, this guy looks like a thug. Let me convict him of a crime. You can't just do that. But I guess the positive part of this case is that it seems to be going more towards bringing this to light, and hopefully people will, like, the justice system will change. Where
we can only hope.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, I think I've been on. How long have I been on live, guys? What did I do? I've been on live for 2 hours. Okay, that's a lot for me. But anyway, guys, I am gonna end the live. But guys, follow Chef. And before I leave, if anybody wants to give him a few roses, because he did contribute a lot to this case, and he's the one who brought it forward and has a lot of knowledge on it. And he even showed us like how the prisons look like in Norway, which kind of makes me, well, I shouldn't say this. I want to kind of go to Norway and maybe steal something so I can go to that.
We have actually a lot of Romanian people doing that. Like,
oh, really?
They will come to Norway, work in the summer, and if they find out they cannot prolong their work visa, they will try to do crimes to get to Norwegian jail.
Oh, wow. A typical Romanian, I'm telling you. It's just, us Romanians, I'm telling you, we're lovely people for the most part, but my goodness, the way our minds work, sometimes I worry,
This is kind of funny to say, but back in the 80s and 90s, about 65% of the incarcerated was Romanian people doing petty larceny.
Goodness gracious.
Because they wanted to stay in Norway, because you get paid in jail, you can do work in jail and everything else. So
yeah, it's and at least in those times, Romania is It's a good country, right now, except it's very, very corrupt, unfortunately. But it's a beautiful country, and you do have more opportunities than you used to have. Bye, Queen. Thank you so much for being in here. I love you, my dear. But yeah, I can see my Romanians getting clever. I can see it.
Yeah, it's luckily on the downcline because Romania is getting better. Political wise, it's getting better, but the corruption is slowly diminishing.
Yeah, I truly hope so. I mean, Romania can be such a great country if it only gets its crap together. They do have a long way to go. I mean, it's crazy. My sister and my mom live in Romania, and there's still so much. Like, here's the thing about Romania: they love American money, right? But they don't like America. Yeah,
Yeah.
My grandfather was like that.
That's the same thing Julian says to me. Is a co-worker of mine from Romania.
It's crazy.
We like all the American money, but we do not like the country.
I know, right? My grandfather was like that. Bless his heart. I mean, he's passed away many years ago, but he lived here in America for a long time. Came here on a green card, applied for citizenship, got approved for citizenship, but he always badmouthed America. And we're like, Grandpa, if you don't like it, why are you staying here? And so finally he's like, you know what? You're right. And he left and he moved back to Romania and stayed there ever since, but he sure liked those American dollars, like he built my uncle a home in Romania that I guess compared to America, it's like $1 million type of a home, So like on American money. So it's like, don't you think you're being a little tiny bit hypocritical? Just a teensy-weensy bit, It's like, it's like kind of like the wham bam, thank you ma'am type of a thing, It's like,
yeah.
But I mean, Romanians are cool.
On that note, yeah, they're usually cool. But on that note, I'm gonna give you some good news.
Okay.
Earlier this day or yesterday, 8 o'clock in the morning, they started to induce labor.
Oh, congratulations! Well, so wait.
In 3 days.
Okay.
If everything goes planned, it will come tomorrow or the next today or tomorrow, but in 3 days.
Oh
minimum.
My goodness! Congratulations, y'all! Make it rain roses on Chef. He's a father to be, guys. He will have many sleepless nights ahead of him. So let's make him feel good, guys. Let's kind of rain down a little bit of roses on my beautiful guest here, and you're gonna come back on the panel and show us the baby when the baby comes, maybe, right?
Yeah, I will drop a picture in Discord, and when I'm live and I will do.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I am going to end the live on that note, guys. And thank you, Linda. But he's the one having the baby. Linda, he's the one having the baby. He's the one who's going to be having nights where he will be wishing for sleep. But anyway, I love you guys. And if you're not already following, go ahead and follow so you can be notified when I go live next. And Chef, thank you so much. And congratulations. And I hope you have a beautiful night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Ooh, where'd I close it at?